You're listening to the Eric Alper Show on Canada Talks, SiriusXM 167.
It's really hard to put the career of Henry Lau in a couple of sentences, but here's what you need to know. He was a classically trained violinist at the Royal Conservatory of Music, and he was a gold medalist there. He's a producer from the Berklee College of Music, and while he hasn't left the classical music world behind, he's veered into the pop world and acting world too. He's a household name in South Korea and China, and now Henry will be releasing soon an all-new English EP that may contain his latest single called Moonlight and his upcoming single Real Love Still Exists featuring Yuna. He is one of the nicest people that I've seen on social media, and he's been well rewarded for it. He's got over 35 million followers on social media. But more importantly, he is from my hood of Richmond Hill, Ontario. And I'm so happy to have Henry Lau join me. Hey, man.
What's up?
I'm about 14 minutes away from AY Jackson, your former high school.
That's crazy. Hold up. Say that again. I thought I heard wrong when I heard this. Say that again.
Yeah, I'm about 10 minutes away from AY Jackson, your high school. I'm in Thornhill, Richmond Hill.
Yo, you know that's crazy. This is like bringing back. I'm sorry. I'm kind of like. I'm trying to it's really nostalgic right now.
That's what happens when you talk to people around the world. Nobody knows Yonge Street or Center or anything like that.
I haven't heard these names in a long time. So wait, you're like right in front of my high school.
Well, I'm almost down the street from your high school.
Well, that's amazing. Well, wow. Yeah.
For people who I want to go back for a moment. Tell me what the scene was in K-pop the day before you auditioned for SM, because for a lot of people, it just seemed to explode out of nowhere. But when you go through your history, it's a lot of steps to get to where you were, but it primarily started with that audition. So what did you think you were going to do with the classical music background, with your dancing background, with your songwriting? Where do you think that you could have gone?
Well, first of all, thank you for doing all that research. I could tell,
No, I've been doing, man. I've been following you for like a decade.
Wow, thank you.
Not in person.
Yeah, I know. I mean, yeah, that's where it all started at the high school that you live nearby, AY Jackson. And I've always been playing the violin and performing, but it was really at that high school where I kind of picked up dancing and singing. And at that time I just did it because I loved it. I just loved performing. I never thought it would become a career. And then it was one of my friends. She was a Korean girl at the time, and then she was telling me about this. There's this big Korean company. They're looking for talent out there. You should really go. You would really fit. And at that time, I didn't have any idea what it was, because K-pop there wasn't even the word K-pop.
Right. It seemed like it was like a North American
thing. Years ago. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know what that is. I'm not really, but I was like, why not just go? And then I went with my friend and I auditioned, and then, one thing led to another. And then I was put into a boy band. And then a few years later, I put out my solo album, and then, next thing you know, I'm performing all over the world. And now I'm having this interview with you here in New York City. So, I've kind of been through a lot, and you're right. There were a lot of steps, but, yeah, none of this was really planned, but I always had confidence in myself through every step of it.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think that if somebody were to audition now for a K-pop band, and just for lack of a better term, there's talk of BTS's management and record label having somewhere in the neighborhood of 45 albums out this year. It's one thing now in 2023 to walk into a scenario where you're going to be busy. What the trappings are. How social media and fans are so lovable and loving and rabid at the same time. But when you were starting, it's like you helped build this giant,
Hmm.
wonderful, beautiful monster. Um, and I find that fascinating that in the beginning, because it all has to start from somewhere.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, there was really like, I had no idea what it was. Maybe watching CFMT television in the middle of the night where you saw
Hmm.
concerts from there, but it was nothing like this though. When do you
Yeah.
think it started to change? When did you notice that like
Uh,
North America is getting into this with your
yes.
career?
So when I first auditioned, it wasn't really like an international thing. And then right when I started, mm, I, performing with the boy band, that's when I really, like, I was really lucky to be at the start. I would say the start of like K-pop really blowing up. And at that time, I remember one time our management told us, we were playing at the Madison Square Garden. Oh, we're in New York City, actually.
Yeah.
Madison Square Garden. And I was like, what? There's probably nobody that would want to come see us. Like, do people even know? And then it was sold out and it was just wild. It was just crazy. And the next thing, we're in South America and then, there were fans at the airport and I was right there at the beginning of this. And
Yeah.
then, um, and it's just amazing to see how it's just turned into something so big. But, uh, I actually didn't know this, but I was one of the first foreigners, in Korea, in the K-pop world. So, um, it's just, amazing to see
Did
how,
that give you another perspective being Canadian? Does
yeah.
that is that like did you notice that like oh I might be brought up a little bit different, I might have a different mentality than some of the other
I
guys that
mean,
were in the band?
definitely, like everyone's different. Like
Yeah.
if like you take one person from, Canada from America, everyone, like, everyone, they're culturally, everyone's different. So definitely I did feel different, of course. And it was the language too. I had to learn Korean. When I first went there, I mean, I didn't know any Korean. So I had to learn Korean. Um, I actually learned a lot of different languages while I was there too. That was part of the training process. But yeah, I also felt like I had a kind of responsibility because, people, I'm a kid from Toronto, from where you are right now. And, uh, I just felt like, okay, I gotta do well, and kind of set an example and not example, just kind of let people know, especially people from, even my high school. Like, I bet there are a lot of people kids there that would love to perform on stages. And
Yeah.
I feel like I got to do a good job to show them, hey, it's actually possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got your an English album coming out. Is there um is there something that you have to kind of go through when you make decisions like these? Like who, when you think of an idea like this, or when you start to go, okay, I'm going to do an all English album. Um, are there teams of people that say, well, if you do this, then this will happen. If you do this, like how much involvement do other people have in your decision making? Because I know you just want to sing. I know you just want to reach people. I know you want to make just amazing videos. But is there a whole big philosophy or world out there? Because I know that you're going to Australia too next
Oh
month for
yeah.
the first
Wow.
time.
You are,
Like
you are updated. Yes.
so, like, does that play into everything? Like when you think, okay, I've kind of done this, I'm going to do an English album, and that will hopefully open up more doors and allow me to have more fun and reach more people.
It, for the decision making, like I would think, people think that, there's, I got all these teams thinking about this and that for you, but it's actually really simple for me. Um, so I've released a lot of Korean music. I released a lot of Chinese music. I even released Japanese music.
Sure.
For me, it's less about the language and it's more about the music.
Mm.
And I think, uh, it just, most musicians will know, but then, when you sing certain languages, it works with different melodies differently.
Yeah.
And when you sing different languages, even when you speak different languages, like when I speak Korean, it's like 안녕하세요. Like your voice, it changes, right? Even when you speak another language, your voice changes. But it's, this time with my English, why I'm choosing to release a total English album is because, English is the language I'm most comfortable in. Cause like Chinese, Korean, like Thai, everything is not my native language. So I just wanted to be as true to myself as possible, as true to my voice as possible. So this sounds like, yo, I'm going to do, what I want, the way I want. And then I'm going to give the best to my fans. And that's,
Moonlight was such a great song. It's such a great video too. It's like super slick. You. It looks amazing. How far ahead are you booked? Like if I were to open up your calendar in 2024, do you know what you're doing then?
I think I am less, I should be, I'm working on this. I promise you. And I promise all my staff that I will be more, like future thinking, booking ahead of time. But I am less like that. I'm more spontaneous.
Right.
I would say. But I would say I'm a good 2 months ahead booked. I should be more.
2 months is 2 months is plenty. Listen, thank you so much for all of your time. I know that you're super busy. Thank you for hanging out.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
And it's a pleasure and it's an honor to meet you, man.
I'm always happy to speak with somebody from my hometown, especially somebody so close to where I live. You're actually 5 minutes away from my house. Yeah, that's crazy.
So those were all the people that were hanging out outside your house with signs. Oh, that's why they're there. Okay.
I love you all. Okay.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Henry. I appreciate it. Have a good rest of the day.
See ya.
Henry Lau's brand new EP will be out very, very soon, but you can check his music out right now, wherever you buy and stream music. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about Beatles and their wives and why they are so important to the story of the world's greatest rock and roll band.